Welcome back, everybody, to watch more football. We've actually got some games to talk about this week. The first league, the first league weekend of the Premier League season is back. You're watching us on the Genre Verse Sports YouTube channel. Please check that out, and you'll find all our previous shows on there that covers right through last season's Premier League and a little bit of Euros as well. While you're on there, check out the main Genreverse YouTube channel as well, because it's got lots of nice entertainment news, reactions, anime stuff, and just generally chit chat about entertainment news on there. And you'll also find similar content to that on lrmonline.com, which is a written site, and I'm one of the writers that puts things on there, rumours, Marvel stuff, Star Wars, that's the kind of where we focus, but we do a bit of everything. There's Spanish speaking stuff on there, anything you can think of, really. This is our second week of the new season. I'm back as always with Dave, Mick, and Ryan. We've got a few sort of format changes that we're messing about with this time, just bringing a bit more structure to the podcast. Obviously, in the comments, you can let us know if you like this format after you've seen today's episode, or whether you preferred us just really running by the seat of our pants like we were doing previously. Let us know anyway what you feel. The first thing that we are going to cover off on this new agenda, as always, is our previous results from our predictions from the weeks before. So Kyle, our lovely producer, he's wearing a dress, that's why I say a lovely producer. And he will bring up the results for this weekend, and then we'll have a look at the scores after that for how we all did in the predictions lead. And once again, for some reason, Kyle is magically able to.
I see he's gone all
things.
in. He's gone all in on the Arsenal thing and changed his name badge to Arsenal Red as well. So,
yeah, I did notice that as well.
Yeah, I saw that last week.
It's disturbing.
Gotta say, I'm disappointed.
To be fair, you guys were the one that mentioned it. You're like, "Oh, we should do it." So I was just there.
Yeah.
Did you like the reveal, Dave? Did you like the reveal at least?
It was no, I didn't. But at least it wasn't Spurs, so it could have been worse. Yeah.
It could have been worse.
But we can take solace in him going for Arsenal. At least we know he's going to shit the pants in the last game or something.
True. Yeah. He's going to bottle it last minute, isn't he?
Yeah, so
I mean, it would have been the same with Spurs anyway. So they would have just bottled it earlier. Like the first game of the season.
yeah.
Which might have or may not happen this weekend. Anyway, as in terms of how the predictions went, Kyle was top of the tree. He got 3 correct scores and 4 correct results, which we call 3 wins and 4 draws, which gives him 13 points. So he's way ahead. Dave is just, I think it was, I've not got it in front of me.
He's on 10
next, is it not?
He's on 10 with two wins, 4
Mick's
draws.
on 6, and then me and Ryan on 5.
Yeah.
So, pond life. But, it's the first game of the season. Anything can happen. And we'll see if Kel can actually beat us all well, not knowing anything about soccer, as he calls it, by the end of the season this time. In terms of the results... Sorry, say that again, Mick?
Just start plucking numbers out there like we do, instead of going for all the data analysis and
other results you want.
You're mute, Kale, by the way.
Sorry, sometimes the button doesn't catch. What is there to analyze on week 1? I can't.
It is chaos. You're right. Yeah.
yeah.
There's a reason they say football, it's a funny old game, because the statistics don't really matter much at damn some of the times, because there's weird things just happen. But I guess there is more predictability in it these days. You can predict. I mean, if you look at our results, I mean, we kind of predicted the rough idea of what would happen in that opening day, bar a few results. But we will look at the 2 most shocking results, which are the results of the weekend. In this week we're going to talk about 2 of them, but there may only be one in future. Shock result of the weekend is the one that we get the least points for, that no one predicted. So we've actually got 2 to talk about this week, which was Spurs drawing 1 each with Leicester City, which was the game on last night. We all watched it, chatted about it while it was happening, and then laughed a little bit inside when Spurs kind of fell apart a little bit. It was beautiful. The other shocking. And Ryan mentioned this. This is the other shock result, and really it shouldn't. I don't know why we thought this was a shock result, but none of us predicted that Brighton would beat Everton.
Yeah,
and
I think the shocking thing is that none of us did predict that. To be honest.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that is what's shocking about it, because we should have known that Brighton are a much better team than Everton. I think it was all just that first game of the season. I don't know. Everton at home. I thought they would turn up, but
my thinking was of the fact that Everton finished the season quite strongly and Brighton didn't. And I thought Everton might kick on a little bit from that.
I think Brighton have changed a lot of bought
Brighton have changed a lot of their team.
Have bought no one, effectively.
I think in my head as well, I still had the sort of pre-season predictions in my mind, and I had Brighton having a slightly disappointing season, and I think that was probably influencing it as well. But I mean, we could go on to it in more detail, but I think 3-0 sort of flattered Brighton from what I saw of that game. I thought Everton started a lot better, and but for a couple of referee decisions, could have got something out of that. But Brighton picked them off when they went to man down.
Also, Ryan, I think Everton were, but kind of like in the second half especially, Everton just almost gave up. They were really, really bad, and Brighton didn't really have to do much to just pass it about them and pick them off. It was so easy. But in the first half, it was actually, I mean, Everton had quite a few chances, and talk about a couple of maybe even controversial incidents that happened in there as well. So, I guess in terms of the other game, there is some things to talk about, but it really wasn't that much of an exciting or shocking game, particularly last night. It was just Leicester, we were all saying, were absolutely terrible. Spurs looked great, Leicester looked absolutely short when we were all saying, this is the worst team so far we've seen this weekend. And then they woke up a bit in the second half, and actually Spurs looked terrible and ended up getting a point out of the game, and a little bit of shithousing as well that we'll get to at the end of today's show when we talk about that as well. But was anybody impressed by Spurs?
Well, the first 20 minutes I thought Spurs were excellent. They could easily have scored 2 or 3 goals, I thought.
But was that
we're just going to absolutely batter them?
Because Leicester couldn't even make 2 passes at that point of the game, so...
We were talking about Vardy being pointless, weren't we?
Yeah.
He just looked like he couldn't get involved, whatever, and they were just beating the ball up to him, and he's not quick enough to do that anymore.
No. It was never going to how it was set up like that. But of course, then he ends up scoring the equaliser, and it's exactly what you want him to do. Be in the box when you're lumping balls in and hope one of them actually goes to him when he's not getting marked, which happens. I think he can put the ball in the back of the net.
He just did. He did a brilliant Drax the Destroyer impression. He just picked a spot and stayed perfectly still, so the Spurs defenders couldn't see him, and then waited and.
Exactly. So those were kind of short results.
About the same.
He should have. Yeah.
I mean, he probably should have. Yeah. I mean. But, given his age, he probably did his hit on the way into that one or something like that, so give him a break.
Okay,
I mean, I don't think he was talking through his routine after the game with, like, Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville, who are both, I think, younger than him. That's a joke, they're not. But, and he was talking about his routine, and he doesn't actually do any training. It's like, right, he goes for massages after this, then after the massages, he's going to some cryogenic chamber. And then he's going to an oxygen chamber, and then he'll probably fall asleep in that, and the kids will wake up, and then he'll go back to the some cryogenic thing after that.
And then some guy gets a red book out and starts reading Russian words at him.
It was at half time of him coming out of the tunnel with a Red Bull in his hand. That's what changed the game, wasn't it?
Well, that's what they say. It was that energy drink. He banged that Red Bull down, and away he went. So
someone sits and does his nails. Gets a nice pedicure.
Well, they did say that it sounded more like a spa day, Mick, than training or anything like that. But I guess that's what you need at 37.
I mean, you were saying he didn't
through the lower leagues like he has.
Yeah, you were saying he didn't have a contract till like Friday, and then they suddenly phoned him up and went, "Oh, actually, we could do with a striker." Do you fancy
Well, no, he walked in. No, they didn't phone him. So he walked into the office. He walked into basically. He was still, I think, at the club in some capacity, but they were basically his contract was up at the end of last season. He'd hardly played last season, and everybody thought, "Oh, this isn't going to happen." and he walked into what's his name, Cooper's office, and said, "Look, you've not got a striker. I think their striker got injured or something like that in pre-season. You don't have a striker. I'll play if you want me," kind of thing. So they gave him a year contract in a way, and that's the end of that. So he gets one more year in the Premier League. It's quite amazing to think about.
A bit like Neil Warnock taking a random job in January, saying his wife wants him out of the house.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just what it is. We Neil Warnock, I think he spends he's sitting in the house watching all the football and shouting at the TV about how bad football is until Christmas, and then his wife goes, "If anybody picks up that phone and phones you, you're out for 6 months. I'm done with you bastard." Yep. Anyway, so that was our shock results. Moving on to our moment of the week, which is now our moment of the week. To describe to you what this is doesn't necessarily mean it's a great bit of skill or it's the talking point of the weekend. It's what this weekend will be remembered for. I mean, this moment of the week this week is a brilliant performance, though.
It is a brilliant performance.
There is a Oscar great performance. Possibly Oscar winning performance. I would say it's a bit hammy myself. I've seen better. I do critique movies, so maybe I'm too harsh a judge on them. Our moment of the week this week, and Kyle is going to bring up a little sort of just a segment of this, a 2-second clip, just to give you a little taste of it. If you've not seen this, please just look it up online. You will find it, the full footage of this, and it may take even a couple of times to just see how disgraceful this actually is. But anyway, our moment of the week was the Newcastle versus Southampton game. It was 0-0, and what's his name? Is it Ben Brereton Diaz or?
Yeah.
Is it Ben? Yeah. I just call him cunt, to be honest. That's my name for him. And he goes up and he pushes a Newcastle defender, Schar, in the back for just no reason at all. Off the ball, he just shoves him to the ground. Right? It's one of those dick moves that like you get in a football park and you got up and you're like, "I'll smash your face in, you prick." If you do that again, that's just what happens. We're in Scotland. That's what happens anyway. So Schar squares up to him, and they do the whole. And we've seen this a million times. Anybody that's played football has done this a million times. You square up to each other, you stare each other in the eyes, and you put your heads towards each other. But in this instance, Diaz, when he feels the head of Schar, looks as if he's been shot by a sniper and falls down on the ground dramatically. And Schar, amazingly, we were actually laughing. I remember watching it live, and I was just going, "What a dick!" And you see the Newcastle players try to pick him up and all that, and then the referee, Craig Paw Patrol Pawson, red card. So I'm thinking right away, well, this is getting overturned by VAR. Definitely, that's the point of VAR. They're going to look at it. Pawson's shit. He's the worst ref in the league, so he's just missed it as usual. But not VAR. Not carry on. That's a definite red card. So we've been talking about it basically all weekend. The media has been talking about it all weekend. It's been on the radio. They've been talking about it, and everybody's been debating whether this really was a red card or not. And people seem to be falling into two categories on it, although I would say the vast majority are on one side and a very small minority are on the other ones. Guys, thoughts on this? Ryan,
we did have a bit of a...
First, Dave, you started.
Well, I guess it was me who was staring up in the chat, wasn't it? On the...
Yeah, but I mean, it's not as if you were the only person. That there was
who
people
thought that
out there in the media who agreed with you.
Yeah, you see them giving us red cards all the time. I don't think I've ever seen an incident where it hasn't been given a red card. No matter how soft it is or how much acting's involved, it's always going to be a red card. So I wasn't surprised VAR didn't turn it, to be honest. I'd have been surprised if it did. But yeah, it's a red card, sadly, but it always is going to be.
Not right. So you're saying, you say two different things there, and one point I'll give you, which is you see it happen all the time, and usually they are reds, and people get conned all the time. Great, but then you said it is a red card. So I looked up the rule book earlier on, and I did post it in the chat.
I
And the
100%
rules
did not
quite
read
clearly.
that.
I didn't read it
Did you
either.
not read that? That's
I don't
good,
think the
so
refs
I'm not
don't
going
read
to
the rule
it now.
book
I'm
either,
just
in
going to
fairness.
pretend I
So
read it. So, no.
Well, obviously they haven't read it on this instance, have they?
So they had a big
Is
debate
the-
about it in TalkSport and it was Graham Souness going. I mean, you can imagine what Souness was saying.
Souness.
Diaz is a
I already know
diving
what he'll be
prick. I
saying
hate
about
him.
it.
He should have get sent off, right? He should have get sent off
Yeah.
for his diving antics. And as Souness said, if you ask any man in the street who should have been punished in that instance, he said like 90% of the people would say Diaz is play acting there and he should be punished, no the other guy, right? And he's probably true. And he says at the end of the day, he was saying, who's the game for? Us or these people who make the rules? So if 90% of the population hates a rule, why is it not getting changed? So Jordan and White were like, nah, Graham, you don't know what you're talking about. And they argued away with him and argued away with him. And then at the end of it, they looked up the rules, read the rules and went, oh, actually, Graham, you were right. That should never have been a red card because the rules clearly state that it has to be violent action. You know what I mean? That if you touch somebody in the face in some way, it has to be violent or aggressive.
Can I just ask you a
some
question,
way.
Dave?
And none of them thought it was.
Was the use of excessive force?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
It was like being in a bar when you like that. You know, you're inciting violence, aren't you? You know, it's a who's going to make the
Dave's
fit
trying
move
to keep a
first.
straight face when he says that.
He can't.
I have,
yeah, absolutely.
I have what I would like to think is a nuanced take on it.
Right.
So I think it's a red card. I don't think it's violent. I don't think Diaz was in any sort of danger whatsoever, and he's clearly play acted. I think it's a red card because it's more about the message it sends to maybe sort of younger viewers in terms of if you've had something go against you, immediately acting with aggression is not the best thing. And regardless of whether Schar actually headbutted him or not, he reacted to something he didn't like with aggression. And that's something that he didn't like was aggression from Diaz, but he has the option of being the bigger man there and just standing his ground.
I get what you're saying, but as a parent, right? As a parent, would you rather your kid learned that lesson or learned not to be a cheating prick like Diaz and play act when they're playing?
Well, so to finish my point, Diaz should have been sent off himself. He got booked for the shove on Schar in the first place, and then although he didn't wave an imaginary yellow card in the ref's face, he went down trying to get Schar booked and sent off, and that in itself is a bookable offence. So Diaz should have been sent off himself, but I do think the red card for Schar is justified as well.
Diaz should have been sent off because at the end of the day, he put his head in there at the same time as Schar put his head in there.
I mean, we've seen footage and footage at Kells.
You send one off, you send them both off.
Yeah, but I mean, what I would say is my sort of the way I try and live and the way I try and get my kids to live is you're responsible for your own reaction to a situation, and Schar was responsible for how he reacted to that.
Yeah,
you know, and fine, things get heated, but things get heated in all walks of life, and you can have consequences for that.
I mean, I said Schar was naive. He was naive to go that close. Even the first push, he actually pushes him with his chest, and I think that was naive in itself because that's a yellow card you're getting for that, and it wasn't needed. What he should have done was just stood up and laughed in Diaz's face. That's a much better response, and watched him getting a yellow card for absolutely no reason, and that's what he should have done. He didn't.
Diaz has already made a tit of himself.
If you've played football with somebody, and I know it's different when you're playing with just like mates up the park or whatever, but if somebody did that to me at the five-a-sides, you know what I mean? I'm not getting up and going, you know, and no reacting to that because it's bad. You know what I mean? There's no need for it. Do you know what I mean? There's no need for that.
If Schar didn't react to that, I bet you Diaz wouldn't have got booked.
I don't know. I mean, it was a fairly clear off the ball shove with like playing nowhere near them and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, but he wouldn't have got booked because I'm telling you.
I mean, we did just say earlier on that there was a clothesline. You know that Pawson never gave a yellow card for. So I don't know. We'll wait and see. Anyway, that was our moment of the week, and we kind of all had our own views on it. But I think most people, I would say most people out there, were of the view that even Southampton fans, that the biggest take from it was that they were embarrassed by Diaz's reaction. There's no need to behave like that to a fellow professional, in my opinion. Anyway,
it wasn't a headbutt, so moving on.
No, I don't think it was a headbutt. It does take us on to. There was quite a few incidents this weekend. So one of our other news sections we're going to talk about is VAR Watch, and what kind of things did VAR mess up this weekend, or was it just the referees themselves? Maybe it's not even the blame of the VAR. One of the incidents certainly was the ref's fault. The first one we can talk about a little bit was the great goal that was chopped off by Eze. So Eze scores a great free kick, and the referee thought there was a foul, blows the whistle too early before the balls went over the line, and then VAR are unable by their own rules to be able to pull that back and say it wasn't a foul. But the referee came out at the end, and he actually, during the game, and he said to Eze, "I've messed that up, that's on me," kind of thing, and I think you can respect that in some way. He's a young ref just coming up, so I don't.
Well, when a ref actually comes out and says, "Sorry, I've made a mistake," you can kind of like, right, okay. It's when refs don't come out and say they've made a mistake in doing something where it gets a lot of fans backed up, doesn't it?
Yeah. I prefer if he just turned up to it. I know it doesn't, change anything, but at least it means in future they should, learn from the mistakes. But refs never do.
We all just mentioned that we have lost Ryan, because it's not as if we can pretend he hasn't just disappeared off the screen at the moment. He's having some technical issues, so we'll hope to get
Schar. So that happens.
Yeah, basically that's what happened. So we will try and get him back on, hopefully before the end of the show. Anyway, there was a few other incidents. Dave, you kind of made a little list of them, to be honest with you.
I did, yeah. We got one so I remember.
I took a wee image of
it, so that one of your 500
that's so
players,
I have to remember.
It was one of our 500 players, yes, that was involved.
What was the Chelsea one again? Because Chelsea are one of the teams you mentioned. This is one I can't remember.
Yeah, somebody went back into the back of Enzo in the box. If it was anywhere else in the pitch, it would have been a free kick. He was just ringing for box, and who was it? Can't remember who it was.
Was it Lewis?
It could have been. No, it was the new guy,
Silvino or something. Yeah,
Silvino, yeah. Yeah, it was him. Yeah. So
he had a good game, him as well.
It was all right. And of course, there was a handball incident, but the new rules, it's not handball, so obviously can't have any complaints about that. And I'm glad, because those kind of penalties just do you nothing.
Yeah.
Where it's very short distance to the arm of the player, where they don't have enough time to react. They're crappy ones. I'm glad to get rid of that one.
But the other ones were, there was one in the Everton, or there was a couple in the Everton Brighton game. One that I thought was dodgy was the one where Minty just crashes into who was it? I can't remember who it was. He crashes into, but he just absolutely smashes into someone at like 100 miles an hour and injured himself, and actually had to go off because I can't remember who was the player he hit, but
Ryan will remember.
I don't remember who the player was, but I was definitely flagging that up as a penalty that should have been given, and it wasn't even. I don't think it was even a foul, was it?
No, I don't think anything given for that. It was definitely a strange one where you'd think, why are VAR not interfering in that? Like, does he get the ball? I really just don't know what they were thinking on that one. What was the other one in the Everton game again?
Calvert-Lewin, where he got the ball, went to control it, it bounced ahead, and when he went to put his foot down, defender went sliding across, and Calvert-Lewin's foot went on top of Dunk's foot.
Have you all seen that?
So
actually, I think they got it right.
The ref gave the penalty.
That's a weird one.
Then VAR said, hang on a minute, I think you need to look at this, and I think it's right, because Calvert-Lewin's foot goes on top of Dunk's foot, as Dunk's foot's coming out the way of him. So it's not a penalty. No way. Not a penalty in the
It's a difficult one, I think. I heard them talking
referee.
about this in Sky Sports News, and they analysed it, and they all had a different point of view on it. Like three of them had, it wasn't a penalty, and three of them had it was, because their argument on why it was that he's sliding in and making that action, if you like, and because he's doing that, Calvert-Lewin's not able to put his foot down where he needs to do to stand. So really it's a foul because he's making contact, or he's putting his leg where DCL's foot needs to go. It's a tricky one though. But I don't think he could have given it.
See how far away his foot was going away from where the ball was. It was a decent distance away, really. I don't think his foot needed to land there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you look at Dunk's trailing leg, as he's sliding across, he's bringing his trailing leg away from Calvert-Lewin towards himself, and then Calvert-Lewin's foot goes down on top of Dunk's foot. That's coming away from him. I don't think it's a foul. I think VAR got it right to tell him to go and have a look at it.
All right, there was one in the Arsenal game as well, or a couple in the Arsenal game, specifically with what's his name again? Sorry, Muscuri or something like that.
Schar, yeah.
Schar,
yeah. And he had a couple of
he had two incidents.
I'll say interesting and challenges. So one, he lands on top of Kai Havertz and uses, it looks to me like he puts all his weight onto his hand and then grabs Kai Havertz round the throat and then just puts his weight on top of the throat, which is really quite dangerous, to do to anyone.
That's a red card in itself.
And it is,
yeah. I kind of don't know how he got away with that one.
Shea's getting sent off for what he's done.
Dermot Gallagher on Sky Sports News said that wasn't a red card, by the way. I'm like, what?
Yeah, no, he did.
Okay. I thought that one was a red. I'm not so sure about he's poking Jesus up the bum, but before anybody reacts to that or thinks I'm being blasphemous. Not that I'd care, but we're talking about Gabriel Jesus, the Man City player, and it did look as if this guy did try to shove his finger up his bum at one point, which made Jesus react quite badly and then get a yellow card himself. But it's a strange incident.
It's a good tactic if you can get away with it.
I think the refs are making a conscious decision this season to not kink shame, and in 2024 that's quite a progressive stance to take. So I can see why they've not done anything.
In this day and age, did they ask for consent? I mean, did they whisper in his ear, "Is it okay if I can do this first?"
We'll never know, will we?
Maybe he should be done for sexual assault.
You might have thought he was all right because he plays for Arsenal.
I don't know any of the names or any of this, but I'm just in shock at the conversation in general. Insane.
Typical American food, to be honest. But...
we're British. It's all double entendres, really. It's not as bad as it looks. But yeah, those were some strange incidents in that game as well. But anyway, we are going to go on and we're going to talk. Well, we actually thought of our performance of the week as well. Who were the best team this weekend? And we actually couldn't decide. So we kind of jointly gave it to Arsenal, Liverpool and Manchester City, who all won fairly comfortably, but none of them were absolutely outstanding. They all maybe had a few issues here and there as well in their games, which meant that no one was really outstanding. But we felt that those were the three best performances of the week, if you like, our most dominant performances.
Liverpool's second half was quite dominant.
I mean, Liverpool's second half was very dominant, but they didn't do anything first half. That was our point on that one.
Done nothing.
Arsenal, David Raya was probably, we'll see in a minute, he got into our team of the week. He was probably the best goalkeeping performance of the weekend, and that means you're you're in some trouble against the other team if your goalkeeper's had an absolute blinder. So I don't think that can be discounted.
I don't know that he had an absolute blinder. He pulled off a really good save.
One of his saves
just
was
looked secure the whole time. Yeah.
And it was his passing as well. His passing was brilliant. I thought he was the best player on the pitch for them, to be perfectly honest with you. He was the main reason that it was a clean sheet and they were comfortable at the back. For me, even when a few mistakes were made, but they weren't perfect. And City, as much as they beat Chelsea, but they huffed and puffed a little bit as well. And Chelsea had a bit of the game as well here and there, so it wasn't that a dominating performance, I don't think. So we move on to our team of the week then, and who we have selected as our best 11 of the week.
I forgot who we selected.
I should have this up so that was in front of me. So I'll let one of you rattle away here.
So I've got it, so I can talk you through it. So
yeah, go for it.
As we discussed, David Raya we put in goal for Arsenal. We've got a back four of Nusayr Mazraoui from United, Dig Van Dern from Newcastle, Harry Maguire from Man United, and Rico Lewis from City. Now, we've been a bit cheeky with the fullbacks, so we've put Mazraoui in at left back because he can play at left back, even though he played right back for United on Friday. And Rico Lewis was on the Sky team sheet at right back.
First half?
No, it was Dalot.
He was right back.
He was right back the whole time, but he had an excellent game. And Rico Lewis was down as a right back on the Sky team sheet, but he's in there because he was everywhere basically against Chelsea.
Yeah, I don't know where he actually plays, but I think on the team sheet he's officially a right back at the moment.
Yeah.
I think he played more centre mid, but you know what? Pep's like with his inverted fullbacks, so
yeah.
Yeah, it's a Pep system. That's how it works.
Yeah, midfield, we've got Amadou Onana. He's going to tell me off for that. He scored a goal 4 minutes in for Villa, I think it was, on his debut.
It was a good goal.
On that. Kovacic scored his yearly screamer against Chelsea. And
he had a good game as well.
Joelinton,
he was brilliant.
Newcastle's goal and put in a bit of shit as well.
Yeah, he was undoubtedly man of the match.
Yeah, and then up front we've gone for Kaoru Mitoma from Brighton. We've got Erling Haaland up front, and we've got Mo Salah on the right. And I think we maybe thought that Bukayo Saka could come in for Mitoma, but that'll be another sort of shoehorning out of position. But he had an excellent game for Arsenal as well, I thought.
Yeah, I think it's better that we choose between Salah and Saka, though, and I think Salah overall was slightly better than Saka.
He contributed with both goals, didn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, Saka did as well for Arsenal, to be fair. But
I mean, he did actually. Now that you think about it, I mean, maybe it would. Do you know what? If it's 50-50
on him,
it's a 6 and 2 threes between the two.
And if we're going to say
they
that
were both really good.
If we're going to say that Liverpool had a good performance of the week, we've got to sort of include a Liverpool player in there, and we picked Trent out for Rico Lewis. So I think it's only fair that Salah goes in there.
Yeah. And that might not be everybody's team of the week, but that was it. I think it was mostly me and Ryan who watched the most football out of us all that kind of come up with this team sheet, and we talked about it a little bit, but the other guys were kind of happy to go with our more.
I put my 2 pence in there, but I couldn't speak for everyone else. So.
Yeah, well, I'll be honest. I sort of.
I'll be honest. I suggested Dan Burn mainly because Newcastle kept a clean sheet with 10 men.
Yeah.
I don't know that he necessarily did anything brilliant, but I couldn't think of any other centre backs who had a brilliant game.
He was very comfortable all game. Yeah, he was excellent. Dan Burn, he was a leader. He was organising everything. Obviously, he loses his partner and ends up with Kraft in beside him, and he does okay, but he's not really a centre back. So, and we did have our backs against the wall, and he organised everything. So, I think Dan Burn was one of the best centre backs of the weekend for sure. And him and Joelinton were the only ones that would even think about getting into the team.
Just on Harry Maguire, I know Lissandro Martinez got a lot of plaudits after the United game. And he had that touchside interview that gets talked about quite a bit. I thought Maguire had the better game. I thought he really snuffed out Fulham's counter-attacks quite well. There was one particular one where Martinez actually lost it sort of on the halfway line, and Pereira was in, and he tries to put a ball through, and Harry Maguire's just there to block it. I thought his passing was better than Martinez's. Yeah. I thought his passing was better than Martinez as well. He just, considering his replacement is on the bench.
That's why I agree with you there. I watched the game and
considering
I had an excellent game.
Considering his replacement was on the bench waiting to come on for him, he put in a proper shift to just show that he's still got something left to offer. So.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, whether he'll start many games or whether Delict will come in and kind of take that, I don't know how that'll work, but I thought he was very good, and maybe it was just playing for his place. Maybe the other ones are straightforward. I don't know, but as I say, Joelinton was it was just a tank. He did everything. He was running from the 18-yard box after an attack and coming back and winning tackles in the 18-yard box an hour. When the guy started off 40 yards ahead of him, that's the kind of performance he had. And he took his goal well, but he just, every time he had the ball, it was like Southampton wanted to play really physical, and it did work for them, except when they tried to do it with Joe, and he just literally shoved past three of them and pushed them out the road and just charged through the middle of them and stuff. Like, they just couldn't handle his strength. All game, so he was absolutely fantastic.
Like
and the other ones, I guess the forwards are obvious because they scored the goals and played well, but
It's like Shearer said, though, Joelinton's one of the best midfielders in the Premier League at the moment.
I think he has been for
the last
great last year.
Yeah.
He was.
He's a proper. Yes. He's a proper box-to-box midfielder, isn't he?
Yeah,
he is.
Yeah, he can do it, and he can sit back if he's needed. And he is disciplined. I think we lost some of that discipline last season when he wasn't.
Considering when you signed him, he was quite an underwhelming striker. What Eddie Howe's done with him is really impressive.
Incredible.
Sign him as a £40 million number 9. He's
the only thing he can't do that well is finish. He's finished well at the weekend, but normally his finishing's a bit, it's a bit rough, which is weird considering we bought him as a striker. But actually, that's not the best part of his game whatsoever. So. Anybody else we want to talk about in the team of the week specifically? Or I just thought Rico Lewis was amazing. I thought all game, so that's why I kind of was desperate for him to get, and I just thought he had a fantastic.
He's a hell of a talent, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely.
I know in Ireland just sort of barreling through the Chelsea team to score his goal.
Sale Walker.
Not too hard, to be fair.
I don't. It is when you've got that many players. Look, you've got the Titanic behind you as your freaking squad.
The problem is we can only put 11 of them on the pitch.
I know, and that is the thing. But we are going to go on and we're going to talk about our clubs a little bit and what we felt. But we've not got much time for this. We're not going to spend loads of time on it. So, Dave, you've got like 5 minutes to discuss Chelsea.
5 minutes.
And anything about Chelsea. Go.
Anything about Chelsea? Well...
Anything, yeah.
I thought, I'm usually really negative about Chelsea, you know me. And seeing us in pre-season, I dreaded what it would be like against City. I just thought they'd cut through it at every moment they could, but it didn't really happen. And I think a lot of that was down to Lavia. I thought he was fantastic. I think we definitely missed him last year. I know it's only one game, but he was great in pre-season as well. And we saw at Southampton what type of player he is. And I thought, I thought where we struggled was moving the ball forward, particularly our play in the final third. It was just a bit too slow. There was a couple of opportunities where we could have broken through, but just some poor decision making. Jackson could have scored a goal when he just basically hit his toe and went straight to Edison. And he had a goal chalked off for offside, which he was just super lazy coming back onside. That's just something he's got to get sorted, to be honest. But, he hasn't played during pre-season. He's not even practiced. He's been injured. So that was his first proper outing. Yeah. So I'm not going to, be that negative on him because I think he's just a bit raw from not playing,
I think there was a lot of sort of trace about having a go at Chelsea this weekend. But
a hell of a lot. Yeah. I think it's unfair. one game in against City. I'm always being negative about Chelsea, but I'm not going to this week. I thought we were all right. I thought 2-0 probably wasn't deserved, but yeah. I
think
what should have been a penalty turned down.
I think a lot of what's been said about Chelsea has been off the pitch rather than on the pitch.
It's all about our signings, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's the result is echoed like that, so that was there beforehand, and then the results amplified it. I guess it's sort of down to it, and I don't think it is.
I guess it's sort of you spent £1 billion on 40 odd players, and there's just a sort of acceptance for a 2-0 loss against City, and maybe that's the thing. And you'd hope you could maybe get a bit closer to them after that sort of investment.
Who else would be not expecting to get beat off City in the first game of the season? That's the thing. Name another team in the Premier League that would go on saying, "Yeah, I fancy us today."
We probably
can't find it.
Maybe I think with the lineup City had out, I think Arsenal would probably fancy their chances.
Yeah, no Diaz. But,
that's fair. No Rodri. Yeah.
But Kovacic was absolutely brilliant.
So was
in our game.
Is it Silva? No, am I getting my names mixed up? What's his name?
Bernardo Silva.
Bernardo Silva. Yeah, he was phenomenal in the centre of the park. Very rarely plays there, but I thought he was really good there.
Yeah.
He's been playing there for quite a while. Centre mid. He plays there quite often for City.
Yeah, I don't know. They move all about at City. You never know who's playing where at times.
So you're fairly confident still, then, Dave? It's not doom and gloom.
I'm not saying I'm confident. I think it's going to take time for this new system. You can tell that a lot of the players at times don't know where they should be passing or where they should be moving. There's a lot of hesitation in the play at times. I think we've really got to get used to this system. So it's too early to tell, but it's also a fact that I don't know who the first team is. Like the other day, just watching Enzo, I was like, where's he going to fit in? I just don't know.
Yeah, he had a poor game.
He was really poor.
The worst player in your team, actually, because he messed up so many chances that could have resulted if he had done things differently. I don't think I like him in that 10 role, actually. I don't think that suits him.
No.
But, I don't know what does suit him, though.
I don't know. I would give it a few games because there's a few players have just come back from international duties and injuries. So I honestly don't know who our first 11 is going to be. But I'm hoping
what about the decision to make
him
captain? Do you think that was a wise choice?
When it comes to Chelsea, I'm never surprised at the controversial choices they make. So, no, I'm not surprised at all. Yeah.
Fair enough. All right, Ryan, your turn, Man United. You get 5 minutes as well.
Okay. Well, I was pretty pleased with how we went on Friday, to be honest. I think we started slowly, like we did in the Community Shield, and Fulham were able to get at us a bit. But as we settled down, the pressing structure in the first half in particular was really good, and we really sort of penned Fulham in and were creating chances by winning the ball high. We just didn't have to strike it to put them away. Bruno's finishing was uncharacteristically bad as well. I thought, we talked about Maguire and Martinez.
They were good at the back in general.
And having Martinez in the team absolutely transforms us and what we can do, because he's just got that grit about him, but he can also distribute the ball really well. He had the early sort of incident with Adama Traore where Traore just blasted past him, and then the next time he did it, Martinez muscles him off the ball, even though he's half the size of him. And it's that sort of fight that went missing a lot of the time last season for us. So that's encouraging, and hopefully he can stay fit. He's had a couple of injuries, but then they're both sort of impact injuries, and they're both very different injuries. So I think hopefully he should be able to stay fit. I don't think he's got like a hamstring that's always a few games away from going, for example, like Luke Shaw does. Xerxes had a slow debut, but the way he took the goal is a perfect illustration of how we're going to use him this season, because he picked the ball up slightly deeper, he sprayed it wide, and then he got into the box to get on the end of it. and that's how it was scored. And Mazraoui, I thought,
played better after the goal. I thought Zirkzee, because I was saying, if you remember, he's not a touch of the ball yet, and I thought he looked a bit lost. And then he bangs it in the back of net. But after that, it was like,
he was definitely more involved.
Suddenly he was picking up the ball and he was 1-2 in it. Yeah. He just seemed to just wake him up. I don't know, and he did look okay after that.
I think he's going to have a good season for us. I don't, I'll stand by what I said last week. I don't think he's going to score 20 goals for us, but he is going to be very useful at getting the rest of the front line into play. The big problem with last season is we didn't have a reliable way of creating chances. We were always looking for a Bruno or a Garnacho or a Rashford to create a moment, rather than saying this is how we're going to create a chance and score a goal. And I think Zirkzee helps with that. Mazraoui, I thought, had a brilliant debut defensively. He was really getting stuck in, and he showed a bit of good passing and a bit of attacking play. So looking forward to seeing how he develops. One thing I am concerned about is where we're playing this 4-2-4 and we've got Bruno higher up the pitch. I think it gets the most out of Bruno, but it leaves Mainu and Casemiro as the two in midfield. And for me, Casemiro was getting too far forward too much of the time. So he was almost playing as a number 10 behind two false nines in Mount and Bruno, and he was offering quite a bit creatively. He was putting balls over the top and all that sort of thing. But whenever Fulham beat the press, he has not got the legs to get back there, and really we need, if we're going to have that two in midfield, we need them both to sit, really. And I think that's why we're going. I think that's why we're going for Manuel Ugarte. And granted, if we keep Martinez fit and we have De Ligt coming to the side, they can sort of step up if Casemiro is going to go bombing forward. But there's still a balance that needs to be struck there, even if it is a lot better already than it was last season structurally.
Cool. Any rebuttals there? Anyone that saw the game and disagrees with it, Ryan? I think he kind of called it, but
if you were playing anyone half decent, you would have lost that game.
Fulham were terrible in the final third.
I disagree.
There was a couple of opportunities with Palhinha. The Palhinha where there was 2-on-1. It was a simple ball for. It was at 0-0 as well. It was a simple ball for Warby. That would have killed.
I think they got to our box. They got to our box too easily, but we swept up there quite well, I thought. And
this is because they were very wasteful going forward. If he was not playing anyone half decent, you would have lost that game.
I mean, what I would say is it's been frustrating. It's been frustrating over the last week or so, in that the narrative around United is still that we're the absolute shambles that we were for a lot of last season, and we really.
I'm not saying that.
No, but
I think it remains to be seen.
I think one game in
still says that, and a lot of the conversation is still, I can't believe Eric Ten Hag's still in a job. We did tighten things up a lot towards the back end of last season, and we are continuing with that plan, and we've signed players.
Yeah, you're going to have a better defence now, aren't you?
What we've done is we've really reinforced the back line, which was the main problem. And as long as they can stay fit, I think we're fine. We do still need another midfielder, and it looks like Manuel Ugarte is going to come. And for me, I think we need to sign a first choice left back, because we can't rely on Luke Shaw being fit.
Ben Chilwell.
Okay, yeah.
I
mean, just saying Ben Chilwell is available.
We don't know what sort of state Ilachi is going to be in when he comes back. So I think Matt Target, yeah. If we could sign a first choice left back, it would mean that we could ease Shaw back in, and we could loan Malacia out when he's ready to play.
I got you. All right, 5 minutes are up. Sorry, cut off.
No, it's fine. I'm done.
Mick, you kind of because we've already talked about Newcastle a little bit in the moment of the week, Mick. So you can have 3 minutes on Newcastle.
Don't need 3 minutes. Wasn't really good enough. For even 11v11 wasn't good enough. Southampton were the better team. 11v11.
But do you not think, like the Liverpool game, we were just starting to warm into it a little bit, like Liverpool did? They attacked, all high energy, and then we were just coming into it.
It was. You don't know, do you? Because obviously that's enough changed massively. You don't know how we would have coped with the 11 players. but didn't really turn up in the first 10-15 minutes with 11.
No, I mean, there's quite a few players in average games. Longstaff didn't have a great game up to the point, apart from his big tackle to annoy Diaz. Bruno was always a slow starter at the start of the season, and he was a bit off at sometimes.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with you on Longstaff because I thought he did have a good game. When we went down to 10 men, he's like a player that feeds off the crowd. If the crowd are negative, he's negative. If the crowd are down, he's down. If the crowd are up and rage,
the crowd were getting on his back though before the sending off. I think after the sending off, because we were just compact, and all he had to do was run about and chase people. But when we were trying to create things, when 11v11, I think he wasn't playing that well.
It's not. I don't think he's a creative player, to be honest. He's like you say, he runs and he harries and he presses. That's his kind of game. That's why I don't think he's a starter.
We did defend well. We did defend well.
I'm looking forward to a week tomorrow because Tonali will be starting.
Yeah. Was it him who not long after the sending off, he just absolutely clattered Diaz on the touchline and got the crowd fired up, and that's probably what turned it, wasn't it?
I mean, I don't think he needed to fire the crowd at that point because the crowd were going mad before that even happened. They were ever since the sending off, the crowd just went chuff. It was crazy. But that was like the next thing that happened after that, and you're right. Yeah, the crowd just went wild after that, and every time
cheeky headbutt at Diaz.
Like a wee pretend one. Yeah, it was good. But yeah, we weren't that good, to be honest. And it ended up, because of the sending off, it ended up backs against the wall. Well, see what happens next week. But we need to be better. So, on to our game week 2 predictions for next week. Kel will bring them up on the screen at the moment. A couple of good games coming up. We'll obviously see how those results go when we meet up next week. These are the games that we'll be talking about when we record next week's show. Anything you want to highlight, or any particular game out of that you're particularly looking forward to, lads?
I can't even remember the fixture.
Palace versus West Ham. I don't know.
Villa versus Arsenal could be a good one.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Villa, Arsenal. I mean, I think Villa did okay. I think Arsenal are a good team. That could go. I think I predicted a draw. I think the rest of you went for Arsenal, didn't you? But
I think
I went for Arsenal.
I think it's indicative that none of us can really pick a game that stands out because a lot of our predictions are identical to each other, to be honest. There's only a few games where we differ. So,
I noticed that a lot were the same, even though we all posted them almost the same time, so they weren't even copied. But, it must just be we're all thinking roughly the same thing a little bit. But,
Brighton Man U has got an opportunity to be a decent game as well. Brighton Man U.
Yeah. Well, it's at Brighton's home, isn't it? Yeah,
it's at Brighton. That'll be an interesting one. I think Everton showed that if you press them, they can be got at. It's just whether we can finish the chances or not. And equally, we can be got at if we get pressed still. So
they'll definitely offer a better challenge against your defence this time than what.
I've got us winning 2-1, but I could see there being quite a few more goals in that one, to be honest.
I could see that possibly. I don't know. I think I went for you to win 1-0 because I think just your defence is the best aspect of you at the moment. But who knows? Anyway, we'll finish up there, lads, and we will just one last thing before we go. Kale's just going to bring something up on the screen at the moment, which is our shit house of the week, which is an occasional thing that we're going to bring up where it's relevant. Jamie Vardy, as we said, scored against Spurs this week. When he was getting substituted off, bear in mind that he's 37, so he had to go for his next energy drink and his cryo chambers and all that sort of stuff. And as he went off, he was getting a bit of stick for the Spurs crowd, and he signalled to the badge on the Leicester shirt saying, "We've got 1 Premier League Championship medal, you guys have got 0. We've got 1. And that was just, he wound up the fans, and that was good shit housing. So he wins our shit house of the week.
I've always loved Vardy.
Can we keep a running score of who wins shit house of the week? Because we've got a few
Well, why Vardy's going to win that?
You could, but you know, it might not happen every week, so it's one of those things we need to keep it as it goes.
I think it's worth sort of recording for posterity, because you got Neil Maupay, you've got Emi Martinez at Villa. You know, we might have a newcomer.
There's a few. There could be some newcomers. You're absolutely
Anthony Gordon.
Right. We'll track it. We'll track it and let you know how it went at the end of the season.
Jason Tyndall's more of a shithouse.
And on that note, we will be back next week to talk about the next weekend of fixtures. Please, again, you can watch us on the Genreverse Sports YouTube channel, and remember, when you're on there, check out the Genreverse YouTube channel and check out lrmonline.com as well. And if you like the show and you like the new format, let us know in the comments what you thought. If you didn't, let us know on there as well. And if you do like it, give us a like and a subscribe as well. That'd be great. That's it from us, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys.